this is David and welcome to the Dungeons of Final Fantasy V ranked from worst to best. Here, we're going to be looking at all the mainline dungeons of the original game and ranking them based upon their fun factor, how inspired the design is, and just the coolness factor. So, with 24 dungeons to get through, let's change our jobs and get started. Number 24, the Phoenix Tower in World 3. This is easily the worst dungeon in the entire game. Remember the Tower of Fanatics in Final Fantasy VI? That was just a copy-pasted mess, and this is the exact same thing, except you don't even know where to go. All the doors are hidden, and if you choose the wrong one, you get into a battle. Hell, even if you do choose the right one, half the time you get into a frickin' battle. Number 23, the Torna Canal in World 1. I honestly don't even know why I'm including this in the list. You just kind of sail on through and then you have a boss fight. The only redeeming quality is the uniqueness of going through here on a boat, but that's not enough to keep it off the bottom of this list. Number 22, Gilgame's Cave in World 2. I don't like this cave, I don't like Gilgame, and I don't like that you can only do it in World 2. I mean, having some cash is nice and all, but there are easier ways to get it that don't involve suicide in this shitty hallway cave with a Hall of Giants encounter rate. Number 21, Walse Tower in World 1. Towers in this game all suck. They're pretty much just copy-pasted narrow climbs with minimal divergence to grab treasures. At least you get the water crystal at the top, but that's not much to be proud of. Number 20, the Underground River in World 2. What is it with water dungeons in Final Fantasy games? They're just not good. The current drags you along through one screen with minimal exploration until you reach the saddest boss in existence, who can be beaten with a lowly Phoenix down. At least you get to meet the Moogles here, so that's something, I guess. Number 19, the Wind Shrine of World 1. I'm kinda surprised that they didn't call this the Wind Tower, considering that it's a copy-pasted nightmare like all of the other towers. There are a few treasures scattered about, but honestly, even a monkey could climb up this thing. It's just a poor excuse to give you your job classes. Number 18, the Shield Generator Tower in World 2. How is it fair that Zeza gets to climb down one floor, while you have to climb up like 10 of them to get to the top? Another tower, another copy-paste of narrow spires, and never-ending stories. At least the boss fight at the top is kind of interesting though. It's always nice to have a boss want to suck you into his black hole. Number 17, the Pyramid of World 3. Okay, now we've left those boring one-note dungeons behind, and we're gonna move on to the annoying dungeons instead. And the Pyramid is definitely that, filled to the brim with traps, pitfalls, damage tiles, and forced encounters. Not only that, but there is a definite difficulty spike, and you're forced to go through here a man down. Number 16, Karnak Castle of World 1. I am not a fan of time dungeons, especially time dungeons where you literally cannot get all of the treasures, or you have a one-time only chance to learn a blue magic spell. I mean, I understand why they did it, but I don't want to have to reset the game if I screw up. If I wanted to reset the game, I'd be playing Fire Emblem, not Final Fantasy. Number 15, the Island Shrine of World 3. Or, as I like to call it, the Fire Ship, Part 2. This place isn't so much as a shrine as it is a game of chutes and ladders. It's just so easy to get lost here because it's filled with pitfalls, switches, one-way paths, and dead ends. For a mysterious shrine that you first see in World 1, I do kind of wish that it was more memorable and that the payoff was better. Number 14, Easterly Falls in World 3. A hidden cave under a waterfall? Say it ain't so! This place reminds me a lot of the Cave to Edlin in Final Fantasy IV, except that it's longer, more mazy, full of secret passages, and has mandatory pitfalls to proceed. To top it all off, you're liable to run into a Tonberry too, and we all know how horrible they can be. Number 13, Fork Tower of World 3. I've said it before that I actually like dungeons where you can split you up and they give you limitations. It just adds a bit of variety and challenge to the game. But this game is unique insofar as you're never really limited with the job system. You can just be whatever you want. Your two parties fight their way to the top, beat bosses simultaneously, and get some pretty sweet magic for doing so. Number 12, the Pirate's Cove of World 1. As the first dungeon of the game, there's really not much to be said about it, but if you compare it to Final Fantasy IV's first dungeon, the Mist Cave, there's a lot more going on here. You have switches, storyline, a healing spring, and even a pirate's hideaway deep inside. Number 11, the North Mountain of World 1. I like mountains. They're always fun, they have jaunty music, beautiful vistas, caves to splunk into, and you're introduced to damaged tiles in the form of poisonous flowers. The payoff is nice here too, because you get the dragon to fly around throughout the inner sea area. Number 10, the Walse Castle basement and tower in World 1. Isn't it fun whenever a town has secret areas that allow you to get some pretty overpowered stuff? The basement is scary, but it has some nice rewards if you go down there early, and Shiva in the tower represents the game's first optional summon and super boss. Number 9, the Great Sea Trench in World 3. Of the lithograph dungeons, this one's easily the best. Not only is it hidden deep underwater, but it's filled to the brim with lava, switches, puzzles, and even a dwarven town. Having towns and secret areas nestled inside of a dungeon is like my favorite thing ever, so I do wish that it was done more often. But it also begs the question, why are dwarves living under the sea? Why isn't it like a mermaid town or something? It's just so strange. Number 8, the Valley of the Dragons in World 2. This is another cool mountain area, except there's more to it with caves, pitfalls, the hidden bone mail, and the poor helpless golem. Coming here to get the dragon grass to save Kryle's dragon is just the icing on the cake. Number 7, the Ancient Library of World 1. It's nice when designers create something different, and going through a library is exactly that. In fact, I think that it's a Final Fantasy first. Here, you're climbing bookshelves, creating passages, fighting books, getting summons and blue magic, and going through areas with limited sight. It's just such a nice diversion from the typical caves and towers. I love it. Number 6, Moor Forest of World 2. I think that this forest is pretty neat too. There's plenty of hidden treasures beneath the boughs of the trees, and ExDeath decides to throw a full-on bitch fit and burn the whole place to the ground, only for you to be rescued by Moogles, before you're then thrust into one of the hardest fights in the entire game against the crystals, as well as the most tear-jerking moment too. Number 5, the Fire Ship of World 1. I really like this ship. It's the first complicated dungeon of the game, full of conveyor belts, switches, moving platforms, and elevators. However, unlike some dungeons, it's not so massive that you get lost or frustrated, and here you're going to receive some unique equipment for your struggling thief, who needs all the help that he can get. Number 4, ExDeath's Castle of World 2. Does anybody else find it rather ironic that ExDeath's castle is more alive than he is? I mean, the guy is a tree, while his castle springs to life with fleshy walls, pools of blood, and skull switches. I almost think that it would have been more fitting for it to be a tree-based dungeon, but still, this is a fitting end for the second world. Number 3, the End Zone. As far as final dungeons go, most of the time I don't really like them, because they just go on forever, and by the end of the game, I'm over it, and I just want it all to end. But that's not the case here. The End Zone, while decently long, isn't so bad because every single area is different. You're going to start off in the desert, then go through ruins, a forest, a waterfall area, and a castle until you finally reach the crystal area. It's also peppered with difficult bosses who all require different strategies and a mastery of the job system. It is a fitting end for a masterpiece of a game. Number 2, the Ronka Ruins. As the ultimate dungeon of the first world, the ruins really do put your skills to the test. The monsters are challenging, there's plenty of blue magic to go around, secret passages, pitfalls, and useful treasures. So you'd better have a smattering of jobs mastered, because if you don't, you're gonna be in for a world of hurt. And number 1, the Ship Graveyard. To me, this is the most memorable dungeon of the game. It's the first one where you really get to put your jobs to the test, and it's unique, pretty much just consisting of wrecked ships piled on top of each other. The enemies here all have different strengths and weaknesses, so it does behoove you to experiment with the different classes that are offered. Not to mention the neat plot twists covered here with Ferris, as well as the foreshadowing offered by the boss of the area. It just does everything right. Well, that's it for the dungeons of Final Fantasy V Ranked. If you like this video and want to hear on the channel, please consider supporting me over on Patreon for exclusive videos and early access to my content, checking out some streams on Twitch, or coming on over to the Discord to chat and hang out. The links to them all can be found in the video description. This has been David, and if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.